Okay, everyone, we're back. I'm here with David Ryan. Um, we've covered categories, we covered valuation, and we covered the trend, the long-term trend, stage two uptrend. And the way that this works is that we start off with these broad topics and this overall perspective, and we're looking from a very like a satellite view, a very, very wide view, not specific, techniques that you're going to use for buying or selling, but then we get into that. And it gets much more specific, and we get to the fun stuff, the charting and the VCP and the chart patterns and position sizing and selling. And then we get into risk management at the end. And then there's, of course, live trading day. Um, but in between that, we bring in the fundamentals. Okay. And if you're trading, if you're swing trading, you're trading, 10% moves, the fundamentals aren't nearly as important as if you're going to try to play for a larger move. And we talked about the average time that it takes for a leader to make a big move. A year and a half, could be a couple of years. You're going to be going through a number of earnings reports if you were to try to hold for a move like that. And the fundamentals become very important for a situation like that. Except if maybe it's a biotech, because 75% of biotechs don't have earnings usually. So that's a little bit different situation. But generally speaking, the majority of your really big movers are going to have the earnings behind them. Um, Dave, just curious, you worked with O'Neill for a lot of years, and all these stocks. O'Neill was known for some of these really big moves, and he'd buy them multiple times and pyramid his buys. I mean, how often did you see him buy stocks that didn't have the earnings and didn't have the fundamentals?
Yeah, they already had the fundamentals in place, and that even includes one of his biggest winners, Amgen, that had earnings coming through as he got aboard the stock and rode it for a huge gain. But he wouldn't look at a stock unless maybe it was a biotech, unless it had all the characteristics, all the earnings and fundamentals that we're going to go through.
Yeah, and there's three ways that a company can grow earnings. They can sell more, they can raise prices, or they can cut costs. And I basically look at three things, and David and I really focus on earnings, sales, and margins. And that's about it. When it comes to a growth company, you don't have to get too tricky. Now, I slice and dice those things in a bunch of different ways, which I'm going to show you exactly how I look at earnings, sales, and margins. And really that's all you need to look at. You don't need book value and return on equity and all these other things, these ratios. If you get really good at analyzing the earnings, the sales, the margins, the chart, you'll do just fine. And I keep it very simple. But that doesn't mean that it's easy or it's not powerful. It's very powerful. So now the reason why we talk about the three ways that a company can grow earnings is because you can grow earnings by cutting costs, by ridding losing operations, by improving your productivity. But the problem is that that only lasts so long. There's only so much you can cut costs. There's only so much you can streamline. And then at some point, you need revenue. So keeping that in mind, if you're looking at a stock and it's growing its earnings, but you see that the sales are flat and the margins are expanding, okay, that's fine. You might be able to get a move out of that, but it's going to have limited lifespan unless they get the sales coming in. So
And the one thing I thought was very interesting about this last quarter is how well companies cut costs. Because there was a number of companies that were able to cut costs so dramatically that they beat earnings estimates by a lot. But as you said, how long can they keep those? How long can they keep on cutting costs, especially with what's going on in today's economy?
right, that's going to have a limited lifespan. And we talked about the stage one, two, three, four in the looking at the trend, the long-term trend, and we want to be buying in that stage two. Well, there's a natural maturation of the earnings cycle that coincides somewhat with that. And we're going to be talking about that and what the opportunity is. But basically, the way it works is, when you're in stage one, you might even have a situation where the stock is more of a value type buying situation, and value investors are looking at it. At some point, though, if you're going to look at it from a growth standpoint, you'll probably see a positive surprise, and you have these positive surprise models that kick in at these, these funds and mutual funds, and then estimates get revised up, and at some point you start getting some EPS momentum. And if this continues for a while, it becomes a classic growth stock. And then the opposite happens. You get loss of earnings momentum and negative surprises. The negative surprise models kick in, estimates are revised down, and it's back a value stock again. So you're trying to get involved in these names when you're getting that earnings momentum. That's the key, because you're trying to find where momentum is not only strongest with the price of the stock, but also with the fundamentals. So you can get, like I said before, you want to get as big of a gain as you can in the shortest period of time. That's the goal. And this all will correspond with earnings surprises. You'll see upside surprises when the stock's doing well. Downside surprises will dominate when the stock's not doing so well. And the earnings revisions, and these are things that we're not going to really key in too much and worry about looking at revisions and earning surprises so much. But the reason why we're bringing this to you is to talk to you about the opportunity that this creates. This is something that Dave talked about in a previous session, where we really can't put a valuation on a company that's growing at 100% a quarter, or even 40 or 50% a quarter. You get these very big earnings. There's very limited visibility when it comes to that kind of growth, and that's what creates the opportunity. Estimates are revised very conservatively and slow to begin with. So even if it wasn't growing very fast, usually the estimates are conservative. And then, of course, the company will beat the estimates, and then they're revised up. And that's sort of the whole estimate revisions game. And that's how you get what's called post-earnings drift, where you'll have and this argues against the random walk theory, of course. You'll have earnings will say beat estimates, and then the stock will drift in the direction of that earnings beat. If it's up, of course, if it's beating estimates, the stock will move up, and if it was disappointing, the stock would move down. That's of course the theory behind it. Post earnings drift. Here's the important key rule that I stick to, and Dave adheres to too. And now, Dave, I'll let you comment on this. So I never trust the story, never trust the numbers, unless it's confirmed by price action. So what that means is, okay, you got great earnings, great sales, great margins, but the stock's in a nosedive. It's below its 200-day moving average in a stage 4 downtrend, hitting 52-week lows. Dave, are you going to buy that name regardless if it's the biggest earnings in the entire market and its story's phenomenal and Warren Buffett's buying it and it's just the greatest company on earth, but it's hitting 52-week lows in a downtrend? What wins there, the price action or the fundamentals?
The price action. And I always say this, you have to have this filter, the earnings, and I mean, the price action and the story has to be going in the same direction. If you hear a great story and the stock's not going anywhere, then you must have the story wrong, or maybe you got the story, or someone told you the wrong story. But so you want to see that price action always confirming what you're seeing in the numbers or what you're hearing from people talking about how great this company is. They have to. It's like a parallel track. It's like a train going down the track. Those tracks have got to be going in the exact same direction. You can't have the price going down and the story great, because it's not going to work.
Right. If the company's so great, the earnings are so great, everything's so rosy, then why isn't the stock going up? You always have to ask that question. Why is the stock performing so poorly if all the news is so good? That's what I call differential disclosure. Some of you who are into accounting, or particularly forensic accounting, will know what differential disclosure means in the classic term. It's basically where you look at the footnotes and you look at the balance sheet and start comparing things, like comparing, oh, is a company's making a lot of money, but then you look at the tax returns and not paying much in taxes. That's differential disclosure, where you've got, that's what forensic accountants look for disparities. And you're looking for the quality of earnings and the quality of sales from an accounting standpoint. I use the term differential disclosure in a different way, but the exact same thing, where I'm comparing the action, the technical action in the stock, to the fundamentals that are reported, the reported fundamentals and the story. It has to make sense. All right. It doesn't make sense that a company is doing so great and everything's wonderful and the earnings are huge and the stock is getting pummeled. Just like here, you take a look at Crocs. You can see here the earnings come out. They're up 144%. The stock gaps down and has its largest one-day price decline on its largest volume. Now, which one are you going to buy into? You're going to buy into the fact that it had earnings up 144%, or the fact that the stock is getting clobbered on that news? That's obviously not a great report. No matter how good it looks at face value, the stock is telling you. And at the same time, that week was the largest weekly decline on the largest volume. And of course, that was right before, look at this, a 90% decline. You see, there's a intelligence in the stock price. And this goes to show you that the street did not like that report, and institutions piled out of that name, and that was the start of a bear decline in that stock.
Yeah. Anytime someone says, "Oh, have you seen this stock?" or "Have you heard the story about the stock?" I put it through a filter. I go straight to the chart, and if I don't see that stock in a nice uptrend, then I just quickly discount it. That's why I go through thousands of charts every weekend, and I'm looking at uptrends. And if you don't see that uptrend when you hear a great story, then you just move on and look for something that has earnings and has the price trend going up.
Right. And if you use the trend template, my trend template, and you can use it in MarketSmith, or you could, calculate it yourself, then you won't even be looking at these names that don't meet that criteria. You'll be focusing on the names that are in uptrends. Okay. Now, let's look at a few names here, and we're on Crocs still, but I want to show you how it works in real life. And Dave, you've always said, buy on technicals and fundamentals, or even technicals alone, and sell on technicals, not fundamentals, but buy on fundamentals and technicals and sell on technicals. Yeah. And explain why we think that way. And also, showing here is a perfect example of how you get Crocs. Look at these earnings. These are the quarterly earnings reports. I mean, big triple digit earnings every quarter, and you see that the stock tops while everything is still looking great as far as the earnings are concerned. Maybe the estimates were, they failed to hit the number that the estimates were, but just looking at these big numbers, they're reporting huge numbers. After the stock's down 90%, then the earnings come in negative. You see, the stock discounted it. And this tends to happen. I'm not sure, Dave, in all the years that I've seen this, it tends to happen more on the downside, where the stock will discount very quickly, and then the bad news, the pain, comes later. But on the upside, it seems like you can go for a long period of time and have the earnings come in, and I guess a company can grow for a long period of time, but when things unravel, it takes things down pretty fast.
Yeah, and the one thing I would, on this example, I would just be careful of is that you've got it labeled earnings deceleration, which it has. But I mean, there are very few companies that can keep up a 300 or 200 or even 100% deceleration. Now, if it starts dropping down into the 50s and the 30s, and that's where you really have to be careful if the stock is still holding up under those conditions. But this is a great example of the technicals leading the fundamentals and led the fundamentals by a number of quarters. I still remember a Gap Stores Gap Stores was one of the leaders at the time, and the stock drops 50%. Then the company comes out and says, "Oh, by the way, our next quarter isn't going to be very good." But meanwhile, you've lost 50% of the value of that stock. And that's another example of where technicals are leading. And and what happens is maybe there's somebody within the company, maybe there's analysts that really know, or someone starts getting an idea that, hey, things are slowing down. And that's what starts showing up in the price of the stock on the downside.
Right. And the reason why that happens is you have Fidelity and these big mutual funds and hedge funds have analysts that, and sometimes big teams of analysts that follow this one company, and they know everything about the company. They're doing channel checks. They're talking to the suppliers and the vendors, and they have a lot of information that and a lot of intelligence that they know what's going on, and they see what's coming down the road. So that's, of course, you don't need that type of analysis because you can move very quickly. That's your advantage. Your advantage is you're an individual investor, and your relatively small orders can be placed, buy and sell, and you can get out very quickly and get in very quickly. You're basically driving a speedboat, and these big institutions, they're driving a cruise ship. It takes a long time for them to turn that ship around. They've got to have analysts sign off on it. It's brought in front of a board. It gets put on an approved list, and then they got to buy this giant position that might take weeks or months to take the position in. And if they have to unravel it, they'll just kill the stock if they just unload it. So they can't just use a stop loss and cut their loss very quickly. So you have this gigantic advantage, but you could take advantage of their wake, and you could get in front of their buy orders because you're much quicker and with the same information. You see, I was giving this advice to the big institutions at one time. In the 90s, I was advising some of the biggest hedge funds and mutual funds. And then I decided, once I wrote a book, let me enlighten the individual investor, and they could take advantage of this information in a much better way, like I did when I first started trading my own account. Real quick, a few things. One, so if you saw before, I had behind me, I had Myrtle Beach. It was the beach scene with the big wheel in the back, the Ferris wheel, because that's where we normally have the Master Trader program. And this year, of course, we're going online because of the virus situation in the world. And so, but now behind me, I have a picture. This is actually last year's Master Trader program, and that's what what you saw there. I'm blocking it somewhat, but you can see all the people and the stage up there where Dave and I are. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out real quick. But let's look.
Oh, and then Mark, my background is inspiration for the people that are watching this and trying to get better in the markets, that you could be trading on the beach. If you get so successful, you can trade from anywhere you want. And so that's your inspiration behind
That's right. And that background is certainly apropos for David. He loves to surf, and he's a beach guy. California dreaming all the way. So here's Vicor. This is a name I was in back in the 90s, covered out of the bear market in 1990, and it was a leader going into 91. You can see the big quarterly earnings, right? And then stock comes off real hard, tops, and big, huge decline. And you see the earnings come in later on. Here's the bad earnings after the damage is already done. So again, you want to make sure that, you've got those earnings during the up move, but don't wait. If the stock tops and goes into that stage 3, stage 4 decline that we talked about, we're not saying that, if the earnings are good, you hang in there. Some people do that. They'll hold and say, well, the earnings just came out. They're really good. It's a bargain. They double up. They buy more. Stock's down 50%. I'm going to double up on it. Worst thing you can do. Again, here's another one. We'll just take a look real quick how your stock breaks on a good earnings report, quote unquote good. EPS of 46%. They actually beat estimates by a penny. Sales were up 36% versus an estimate 288 million versus an estimate of 282. So they beat there, and the stock gets clobbered. And then, of course, you see later on, after it turns into Dave's serial gapper that we talked about, now the pain comes in. Now the EPS is negative, sales are negative. And you see the major break also, you can see it on the weekly chart. Company issued guidance. Sometimes you'll beat earnings. You'll actually beat the earnings, and it looks like a good report, but then the company lowers guidance, which is usually not a very good sign. And if they lower guidance and the stock doesn't react very well, then it's even more ominous. So again, these are the moving parts that you're going to look at, and we're just going to move forward here a little bit.
One other thing I would throw in there too is expectations. There's lots of times there are estimates on the quarter, but then there's these quote whisper estimates. And people, after a company has beaten the estimates 2 or 3 quarters in a row, the expectations start getting higher and higher. So they really have to beat by a big margin to keep that stock going. And that's why sometimes you get some great earnings reports and the stock just starts falling.
Yeah, I mean, perfect example of a stock that made a meteoric rise here, and then of course it cratered as well. Perfect stage one, stage two, and then very quickly into a stage four was Tilray. And I compare these because you take a look at something like a Macy's, founded in 1858. 130,000 employees, 25 billion in revenue, right? Big company, sounds pretty safe, right? And then you have Tilray, founded in 2013, 330 employees, $28 million in revenue. A tiny little puny little company, right? Stock advances 1,000% in 5 weeks. Now, mind you, after that it went to $2. But look at the opportunity. And the point here is, does a good company make a good stock, or does even a bad company make a bad stock? I mean, I traded many of the .com stocks back in the 90s, and they had virtually nothing to offer. They had no, there was nothing in the way of earnings. It was all based on, future technology, and most of them went bankrupt. But what an opportunity. I made a fortune trading those on the upside, similar to something like a Tilray. So, we've seen companies like GE go down 90%. So there's no such thing as a safe stock. The thing that I want to make sure that we're pounding into your brain here is that don't get enamored with a name. And if the earnings are coming out good and the fundamentals and the story's intact, you have to default to the chart, which we're going to get to, and we're going to be doing a lot on charting soon. But
And
go ahead.
one thing I would add too also is how many people knew Tilray at the time. It wasn't. This was a marijuana stock.
Yeah.
Isn't that correct? And so this was a brand new industry, and the company at this point, founded in 2013, was only 5 years old. And so this was a name that no one knew of. Everybody knows Macy's, and that's usually what happens when a new bull market starts. Out comes these stocks where everybody's going, what's that? What's that? Well, that's the new company that everybody's going to know in about 6 to 9 months when this makes a phenomenal move. And that's what you should always be looking for, the new names. Don't get so comfortable. Don't always go back to the same big names that everybody's talking about. The big winners are going to be the ones that most people don't know of.
Right. And when I talked about that maturation cycle, and you get up to where it's a growth stock, and it's an official growth stock, that's when a lot of the growth is usually gone. I can assure you that Apple and Amazon are not going to make the moves that they made prior in this last secular bull market. And same thing, with you take a look at Tilray here, coming out of a really nice base. We're not on technical yet, but a very nice base here. Comes out perfect, VCP, and then makes that big move. That's really what you're looking for, those names that you may not be familiar with. And, Amazon and the names that are household names now, Google, all these names that are household names now that everybody knows. When I was buying those names in the 90s, nobody knew them. And not only did nobody knew them, Wall Street hated them. They didn't want nothing to do with them. All right, so we're going to take a look now at some of the things that you want to look for in a growth stock, and some of the things that are going to push institutional money into that name. And again, you can move very quickly, so you can identify this and get in the stock and take advantage of that institutional wave that's going to come in as these characteristics are being met. The first is acceleration. Earnings acceleration. There's a few ways that a stock can accelerate its earnings, and we're going to talk about them now. One is a quarterly acceleration, sequential, year-over-year sequential acceleration, and that is where you're comparing the earnings year to year, and then looking quarter to quarter. So Wall Street loves when things are getting better. And the faster they're getting better, the more that translates into the potential of a fast-moving stock. What you want to do is usually look at the last few quarters, the last 2-3 quarters, and look to see if there's some acceleration there where you're seeing the earnings getting stronger, also with revenue. And you could also look forward. You don't want to look too far forward because then you start getting into estimates that are too far out and they really can't be that accurate. But the next quarter or maybe 2 quarters out, you can even see if the estimates are showing there's going to be acceleration in the upcoming quarters. So here's an example of that, looking at Gilead. So you can see, and acceleration can happen from negative too. It could be -10 to -2 to +20, and that would be acceleration. It doesn't have to just be positive numbers. But you can see here, both on earnings and sales, you can see that you had a 4% earnings increase year over year and a 15% sales looking back 3 quarters. Then the next quarter was 10% earnings and 21% sales. And then the next was really nice. You had a 208% increase in earnings and a 97% increase in sales. Now, this is where I was buying it right here. And this is just coming out of a classic. We can call it a VCP, has VCP characteristics, but it's just a classic cup with handle. And perfect breakout, holds up. And you can see the very next quarter, you had even more acceleration. The earnings were up 372% and the sales were up 136%. This is the type of acceleration that you want to look for. This is classic, just a very classic situation. And like I said, you also want to see sales. If you get sales accelerating too, that makes it even more powerful. The more you can get acceleration, and you see, we're going to talk about margins too. If you get margins also, that's even better. So getting all 3 of them to accelerate, it allows things to grow exponentially. So just move forward here. Sorry. Change my screen. This is a stock I bought, Kenneth Cole. This is going back quite a while. This is back in 1995, which I had a great year. 95, I was up over 400% in my account. It was really sort of a game-changing year for me in my trading career. And this was a name that I bought that went up, made a nice move out of here. Really just classic. You can see tightened up real nice on the right side. And something I want to point out is that acceleration doesn't necessarily have to be so perfect where every quarter is accelerating. So for instance, here you've got EPS of 41%, then 117, then it's 48, and then it's 283. So you've got a trend of acceleration here, both in earnings and sales. Not necessarily we have one quarter, but I always look, I try to look at an average of 2 quarters. I mean, sometimes you get it perfectly where you'll have the quarters will accelerate, but I like to look at an average. Like if you took a 2-quarter average of Facebook, you can see very clearly how the earnings, when the earnings were not very good. And if you remember, Facebook was you remember, Dave, Facebook was like one of the biggest, most talked about IPOs ever. And it just flopped right away.
And it bombed, yes.
Yeah, it bombed. It went down, I don't know, 50 or 60%. And it took time, and the earnings weren't so great. They had revenue. You see, the revenue was pretty good. But look at how all the excitement happens once the earnings start to accelerate. You see, and again, not perfect. It goes from a flat quarter to 58%. And that quarter exploded the stock. And then from there, 83, 95, 132. This is a 2-quarter average. But if you look at the individuals, it goes 58, 108, 82, not perfectly linear. But if you look at the average of 2 quarters, it's steadily accelerating, and that was able to really move that stock. And also, you can see the revenues. You've got some nice some acceleration in the revenues as well. Now, something to point out: if the earnings are triple digit or even close to triple digit, let's just say they're 90% or so, you don't really need acceleration. Right, Dave? If you got earnings are up, 230%, and the next quarter's up 100, and the next quarter's up 90, and the next one's up 110. I mean, do we really need to see acceleration when you have earnings that large?
No, it's just you just have to make sure it doesn't slow down too much. But if a stock it's very hard for any company to keep on reporting 100% increases.
Right.
So, but yeah, as long as they're very big and strong, you can just stay right with it.
And the ones that do report for an extended period of time get rewarded very well. Cisco had 16 quarters of triple-digit earnings, and the stock went up 70,000%. And you'll see, even if a stock can maintain 35 or 40% for several years, you're going to have a big stock move. And I want to point out something too that Dave said earlier when we were talking about selling on technicals and not earnings. He was talking about is if the stock was still holding up and you had the earnings slowing. So let's just say the stock doesn't break, that it doesn't break down, it's holding up technically, but you see earnings materially decelerate. So a material deceleration is if you saw a few quarters of 2/3 deceleration. So maybe it's up 100%, then it's only up 30%, and then it's up 10% earnings. That's a material deceleration. That's a big level of deceleration, and that would be a red flag that you start looking for the signs of selling technically, even maybe earlier than you normally would. So just a quick, just a little quick little tip there. So looking here back at Crocs again, you can see the big earnings, and that's what had the stock have that big move. The average quarterly growth through this move was 229%. And you could do the math. I mean, if you're growing, just do the math. If you were just you had your own company, let's just say you had a construction company and you did $500,000 in sales, and then you grew it at 200%, and so now you're doing $1.5 million, $2 million, and you grew it at 200% 3 months later, and now you're doing $6 million, and do that for a year or two. You'd have a gigantic company. Do it for 3 or 4 years, and you might have a Fortune 500 company. Literally, that's how quickly a company can grow. And that's why you get a giant move in the stock price, because do the math. This is our quarterly basis. Triple-digit earnings on a quarterly basis can really grow a company.
Yeah. One last thing I want to point out on most of these examples, they had very, very big moves. I mean, if you look at Crocs here, the stock broke out. It looks like at around 20, goes to 75, and does it in about a year, maybe a year and a half. As the move gets bigger and bigger, the expectations, as I said earlier, get larger. And it just puts more pressure on the fact that that next quarter has got to be big. So you want to look at the time factor, how long the move's been going on, how many times they've beaten earnings, and then how big that price move has gotten. Because as it goes along, everybody starts to know it, and their expectations just go higher. So be careful.
Yeah. So yeah, too much of a good thing. But we're looking for a good thing, and then when it goes for a long period of time, you should be selling, and we'll get into selling later. Now, these quarterlies translate into annual. All right. So we're going to show you how to look at some annual earnings. You'll find that the acceleration in earnings, you can look at a quarterly basis, but also on an annual basis. You want to always look at the annual earnings. And I'm going to show you a few ways that I do that. But let's take a look at Home Depot. And just to show you, you see how when the stock makes this nice big move, the earnings average 27%. Right? That's the average annual earnings is 27%. And you can even see here for this period of time where you're basically locked in a sideways trend, it averages 24%. But then when you get that nice big move, you see there's an acceleration. It averages 39%. You get a 37% year and a 41% year. Then when the stock tops, and now you have this underperformance for an extended period of time from 2000 all the way in this chart, all the way to 2008, 8 years of decline and underperformance. Look at the annual earnings. The annual earnings are about half of what they were in the move up. And you can see here how the annuals translate, and if you average them out. And then again, you see how the earnings get really paltry later on after the stock tops. Then it comes in later on, just like we talked about before. But here's the way that I look at annual earnings, and a lot of mutual funds, a lot of big institutions will look at this. They have their computers programmed to look for what's called a breakout year. And basically, it's just looking and seeing a company that might be range bound for a while. Maybe it's 3 or 4 or 5 years. Sometimes it's an extended period of time. It's a whole decade that earnings just can't seem to break out of a certain range. You can see here from 2006 to 2009, in this example, you got 23 cents, 26, 18, 32, really no real progression. And then in 2010, boom, $1.32, a huge breakout. Breaking out of that range. And then the estimates for 2011 are $1.94, up 47%. That is what I call a breakout year. And you'd be surprised at how many times you will see this. And it will give you a tip-off that and of course, again, just like we said before, you don't buy on this unless the price action confirms, right? And we're going to get to that and talk a lot about the price action, but this isn't something you buy on in a vacuum, but this is something that you want to look for. So you're going to watch the current EPS, the current annual, and the estimates for the next year, and look if you can find a breakout year. A lot of times these will all coincide together. You'll get the quarterly acceleration, it will translate into the annuals. You might have the quarterly acceleration first, and the annual breakout year is on an estimate going forward. And that's a scenario that you might see, and that was what it was with Gilead. If you take a look here, we have the acceleration, like I pointed out before. Right here's the quarterly, and you see the breakout year. See how you're trapped in this range: $1.85, $1.93, $1.95, $2.04. Just no progression in the earnings, and then 2014 estimates $8. That's a huge breakout, right? Giant breakout. And it's being confirmed. You're getting the acceleration in the quarterlies, and you got that nice big quarter, and the stock's setting up perfect. This all culminates into a very specific entry point. That's why my strategy is called specific entry point analysis. It's to get to that specific day that you should be buying, where everything comes to a head. Everything comes to that one day, and that's the day that you should be buying, where everything's set up perfectly. Let's see here. Okay, so that's one way to look at, or two ways to look at acceleration. Looking at the quarterly acceleration, right? Year over year, sequential quarterly acceleration, classic acceleration, and then looking for a breakout year. That's another way to look at acceleration. So now the third way is to look at acceleration versus the growth rate. And a lot of times this will happen in turnaround situations where you'll find the growth rate is maybe, not very good, the 3 or 5 year growth rate, or maybe it's even negative. And then you start to see these big earnings come in and the quarterlies. And when you compare them, you can very clearly see that the current earnings are much stronger than the company's been reporting over the last 3 or 5 years on average. Now, here's the trick to this. If you're looking at turnaround situations, you have to realize that if you have a company that is got negative earnings or very poor earnings, then the most recent quarters are going against what are called easy comps. So it's very easy to beat those numbers and to show a big number, of 100% return, if you're going against a penny or negative earnings. So you want to, if you're looking at a turnaround situation, you want to demand that the last 2 quarters are large, big earnings increases, usually 100% or more, or at least one of them being 100%, or the 2 of them averaging 100%. You want to see triple-digit earnings in the most recent 1 or 2 quarters when you're dealing with a turnaround situation.
Yeah, it's you want to see a radical change that's going on in the company, and 100% plus is what you should demand in turnarounds. Now, one thing I'd also say is within a portfolio of stocks, turnarounds probably don't happen often that much. Most of the stocks that you're going to be buying are going to be growth, but occasionally there's going to be a turnaround that could have some dramatic price appreciation.
Yeah, especially coming out of recession. You're coming out of recession, you might have a handful of turnarounds. That might be the theme at that time. Sometimes the market is very thematic, where you'll have a whole bunch of growth stocks in one period, and another bull market will come out of a very deep recession. You'll see a lot of situations that had very poor earnings, and now they're reporting good earnings. So look for those themes. We talked about the categories and the 4 categories that we mainly key in on. And they're, like I said, it's very thematic. So you want to look for that. You could also look for a technical theme. A lot of times you'll see the same type of technical pattern. And again, we're going to get into, a lot on the technical side coming up. But I want to show you something here. This is something that I did a few years in a row at the Master Trader program. I think the last time I did it was 2014 or 15. But I'm going to show you a chart that I brought up in 2013. And basically, I just picked a stock that, because prior to that, I think the prior year, somebody said, well, can you pick a stock, one stock that you like right now? So the next year, I said, let me pick a stock, and then we'll take a look at it later. Like the next year, I'll look at it at the next Master Trader program and see what happened. And basically look for these characteristics. So in 2013, I picked Home Depot. And there were some of the reasons were, as are outlined here, we had a nice, base being formed. You had a relative strength. You had a good relative strength, a 17-week base. We had a breakout year. All right, breakout year estimate up here. You can see coming out of this range where it was stuck in a range for quite a while. And you can see also the growth rate was only 4%, and the last few quarters were averaging 29%. So there was some acceleration there on a quarterly basis. You can see prior to that, the prior 3 quarters were up 11, 19, 18%. And then you got this sort of spurt here in growth, and it was much larger than the growth rate. So I selected this stock as my pick, which was Home Depot. PE ratio at 21. All right, I want to show you why that's important. This is a really important chart to look at, what I'm about to show you. Okay, now let's take a look here. This is now 1 year later, looking at it at the next Master Trader program in 2014. I brought up the chart and we talked about exactly what the characteristics were when I picked that stock, what happened after. And it's quite interesting. There's a few things that are very interesting and very important to note here. First of all, let's look at the earnings, the annual earnings. The estimates, if you go back and you look at the estimates, I'm going to flip back here for a second. Here's the estimates, 297 and 337. Now I'm going to go back here, 297, 337. Remember I said analysts are conservative and they're usually wrong. Okay, they're usually wrong and they're usually too conservative. Well, the 297 actually was 307. And the 337 actually came out of 376. So you see, they were conservative. Once again, that you'll see that over and over, and it works on the downside too. Now, take a look at the growth rate. The growth rate now is 23%. It was 4%. That's because the earnings were coming in, and you got the earnings to come in. That acceleration started working the growth rate up. And now here's another important thing to look at. The RS is now that was a 90. The stock is up considerably from there. I guess it's up, I don't know, 70, 60, 70, 80%, right? It's up around $90. The relative strength is only 85 now. You see, just because the stock goes up doesn't mean the relative strength goes up. Relative strength is a relative figure. So a relative strength can go up, and the number can go up, and the line can go up. If a stock was to go down less than whatever you're comparing it to. So if you're comparing it to the S&P 500 and the S&P 500 is down 20%, but over the same period, your stock goes down 15%, the relative strength line is actually going to move up. And and if it's outperforming stocks that, IBD is ranking it against all the other stocks and then going to give that number a 1 to 99, if it's outperforming on the downside, better than the other stocks that are going down, your relative strength will move up. So again, you want the relative. Sometimes people think, oh, well, the relative strength, why would I get a 99? That's after it's already gone up. I want to get it when it's a 70 and before it becomes a 99. See, it doesn't work that way. You want the highest relative strength number. It doesn't mean that the stock has made a big move or it's made its big move. It's a relative number.
Yeah, and one thing I would add too is the number is against all stocks. So at this point right here, the stock is outperforming 85% of all the companies in the database over the last 12 months. The relative strength line, which is here, is against the S&P 500. And you can see that it had some great outperformance at this point. And then it kind of underperformed, but it wasn't doing really anything wrong. It just wasn't going up as fast as the market, and then it took off and went. And in market, there's one. If you could go back to the other chart, there's just one other thing that I would like to point out. Go back to the previous Home Depot, and this is something that I think is important to keep an eye at. Is this number of funds? I'll put the star here. You see the number of funds. This is what creates a move in a stock. Now, this is what I always like to see before I'm buying, is that institutions are starting to accumulate. This was September 11th quarter, 1,735. Then it jumps to 1,900, 1969, 1984. So it's been up 4 quarters in a row. Now, remember that number, 1984. Now, go to the next chart on Home Depot. Look at the number now. It's now 2,100 here, and at this point, it's still moving higher, and that's what created this move in the stock. It's that institutional buying. So it's one extra thing that you should be looking at in addition to all the great fundamentals that are changing in the stock.
Right. Now, in the 2014 Master Trader program, I did just the opposite. I decided to take the shorting challenge, I guess. And instead of looking at a stock that I would buy long, I said, let's look at a stock that looks like it's in trouble, a previous leader that looks like it's topped in a stage 4, and apply the same sort of analysis to be able to take a look at the estimates and the valuation and the whole way we analyzed the Home Depot trade. So this is in 2014. I picked this name right here as my underperformer, if you will. And now again, let's take a look here. All right, I got to look a little closer. It looks small. 267 for the 2014 estimate, 322, right? A PE of 22 and a relative strength of 3, right? And you can see the stock is clearly in a stage 4 downtrend. Now, a year later, at the 2015 Master Trader program, I brought this chart up and took a look at right where I was, picking this stock as a underperformer. Okay, so first let's start off by looking at the estimates. All right, remember 267 and 322 were the estimates. Look what actually came out: 231 and minus $1.20. I mean, you want to talk about being off by a little bit. A 322 estimate where they actually came out where they lost $1.20. So there you go, completely conservative, right? Now, here's something really important to look at. The PE was 22. Remember we talked about this before about valuation and how can you have a stock that is much lower, but it's actually more expensive, right? Or a stock that goes higher and it's cheaper. Well, here it is, right? 22 times earnings. The stock gets clobbered, I don't know, from around $60, and it goes all the way down to $15, right? Huge decline. Now the PE is 86 times. See, it's much more expensive. So this was discounting. And that's because the earnings, you see the earnings come in, and now you don't even have earnings because they're losses. And that's what creates that. This is what we were talking about, and Dave was talking about when we were looking at valuation. Yeah. So, yeah. So the key to this, or the thing that I'm pointing out here is the opportunity in the in the delay in the estimate revisions. This is what creates. This is why the market is not truly efficient and random. It's not. If it were, then these numbers would all be, everything would be perfect. They'd be able to estimate, and the estimates would come out very close, if not exact to that, and the stock price would discount everything, and you could put it all in a spreadsheet, and there'd be no opportunity. There wouldn't have these big giant moves, and you wouldn't have people outperform the market like myself and many of the people that have worked for me and that I've taught. So again, the market is random a lot of the times, but if you know the right places to look, and again, you're looking with those big earnings that you really can't, or big potential, even if it's not big earnings, it might be a biotech company that just has a huge potential with a drug that might be a multi-billion-dollar drug. These are things that really just can't be discounted properly. They can't be fully discounted. Okay, so how do you know if an earnings report is a really great report? I'm not going to go through these right now, but this is for your own edification. There's 7 points here, things that you could look at to see if the earnings are good. And also, when is an earnings surprise really a surprise? All right, whether a good surprise or a bad surprise. I can tell you right now, if the stock's down 20% on an earnings beat, it's not a beat. All right, it's a miss. But what you want to look for is you want to look how the stock acts, how it responds. One, what's the initial response? What's the initial response? What is the subsequent strength, and how resilient the name is? All right. And again, you can go over this stuff. We're not going to go over this right now, but we'll be going over the charts and getting very in depth and very detailed with all this. But these are a few things for you to have for yourself. Now, last but not least, we're going to talk about profit margins. And like I explained before, you could see I'm looking at earnings in a few different angles, right? And profit margins and sales. So I'm only looking at 3 things though: earnings, sales, and margins. That's all that I'm really interested in with a growth stock is earnings, sales, and margins. And when it comes to a biotech or some technology maybe that is selling on future technology, I'm not even looking at the fundamentals. I'm looking purely at the chart. So for a biotech, 90% of the time, I'm trading off the chart because there are no earnings. So margins are very important also, but on their own, remember I talked about on their own, they can't move a stock for a long period of time because you can only cut costs so much. You can only rid so many losing operations. You can only increase productivity so much, and then you have to get revenue. However, they can move a stock in the short period of time, of several quarters or even a year. It can move a stock quite a distance, and when you couple expanding margins with revenue, you get very explosive earnings. So that's where the real power comes, when you start getting a combination of these. And that's what I'm going to go over right now. This is looking at net profit margins, just looking at Apollo. You can see the stock goes up 850%. Look at the margins. The margins virtually almost, well, don't double, but up about 70%, from 11.7 the next year, 14, 16, 18.4. So you're getting that margin expansion. You'll see this in a lot of big moving names where you'll get a combination of revenue growth and margin expansion. Here's some really good expansion in Panera Bread. And look at the NASDAQ is down 80%. All right, this is one of the biggest bear markets in the history of the stock market. And Panera Bread goes up 1,100% during that period. That's because they're delivering the goods. They're literally delivering the goods. Their profit margins went from 4.7 to 6.5. Then in 2002, from 6.5 to 7.8. And then in 2003, from 7.8 to 8.6. If you look at 8.6 back a few years earlier, they almost doubled their margins from 4.7 to 8.6. You might say, well, what's 4% in margins? I'm going to show you how powerful that is in just a second here.
And I think they also have to have expectations about what industry it is in. And I think you mentioned this before, that in a technology company, those margins can be substantially much bigger than a grocery store or much bigger than a restaurant. And so, well, you should just keep on going on with your examples, but keep in mind what industry that's in and what are normal profits margins for that group.
That's right. And what Dave is saying, that works also for return on equity. You might have certain industries have a very large margin industry. Software is an industry that has very large margins. When you get into a supermarket, these are like Walmart or just a regular supermarket like a Kroger. You're talking about these companies working on 1%, 2%, 3% margins. But don't think that it's still not powerful. As a matter of fact, it could be more powerful than ever in that circumstance. And I'm going to show you that right now in just 1 second after the Monster Beverage example here. Another example of revenue and margins creating an incredible growth story. You can see 20% sales, right? 3.3% margins, 5.4. They expanded them, right? That pushes the sales even further, all right? That's going to accelerate that sales growth because now you're on a bigger profit margin. Net profit margins, sales 63%. So you got an acceleration in sales. Your sales went from 20 to 63. You can see EPS 75 to 214. There's your acceleration. Well, look at the margins. The margins are now 11.3 versus 5.4. And if you go back from 3.3 up considerably. Now let's go to 2005. EPS 195%, not accelerating, but still hitting that nice triple digit mark, right? That we said you don't need acceleration if you're at triple digits. Sales 93%, right? Versus 63 versus 20, accelerating in sales. And now net profit margin 18%. So there's no wonder why this stock went from split adjusted to this looks like 20 cents to $26. Huge, enormous move. This is what's fueling that. Now, Dave just pointed out about the industry. This is a hypothetical grocery store. All right. It's a little tiny store too, because it only has a revenue of $1 million. But this is a little example that I just threw together just to make a point. And I want to show you how powerful even a small increase in margins can be. So in this particular, our company here, our experimental company here, has a profit margin of 1%. And they have a market cap. They have 100,000 shares in their market cap. $1 million in revenue times 1% profit margins means $10,000 divided into their 100,000 shares. That's 10. That they would make 10 cents per share. If they were reporting their earnings, it would be 10 cents per share. Okay, so now there's two scenarios. The first scenario is we're going to grow earnings at 25% and leave the profit margins unchanged. So the profit margin is still going to be 1%, but we're going to grow the revenue from 1 million to 1,250,000. That's a 25% increase. So the earnings would be up 25%, right? You would now have 12 and a half cents per share, and that would be an increase of 10 cents, and you'll have a 25% increase. Okay, now let's take another scenario. We're going to increase the revenue the same 25%, but we're going to bump the margins by just 1%, from 1% to 2%. Okay, so same situation here, right? Revenue are up to 1,250,000 times 2% is 25,000 divided by 100,000 shares is 25%. 25 cents per share. Earnings are now up 150%. Now, you think 150% are going to move a stock more than 25%? Absolutely. Right now, you've got that triple digit, all from just moving the margin by 1%, because 1% to 2% is you doubled the margins. But this will happen very often. You'll have a company that has 2 or 3% margins, and then they grow it to 4 or 5%, and then it's 8%, and they're doubling the margins, which is turbocharging the revenue to the bottom line. I'll show you a few examples here. And where is my? Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's go to Ollie's Bargain. So this is the stock that Dave and I were buying, if you remember back, coming off of that initial IPO base here. Let's look at a real life scenario here with Ollie's Bargain. And Ollie's reported, you can see right here, their earnings were up 50%. It was 96 cents per share, up 50% on revenue that was up 16.8%. And their margins, you can see their margins went from 4.7% to 6.7%. And I lost my pointer. Hold on. There we go. Let's bring this. Okay. So earnings 50%, revenue 16.8, and the margins were up 42.6%. They went from 4.7 to 6.7. So a 2% increase in margins. All right. That resulted in 50% growth in earnings. Let's just say that they didn't grow that 2%. They still had pretty good revenue growth, right? And they didn't grow the 2% in margins. It was just the same margin ratio, the same profit margin, 4.7%. That 50% earnings would be 7.81%. Big difference. And that's all from a 2% increase in margins. So like I said, when you get the combination, you're turbocharging the revenue to the bottom line. And the greatest example of this, it's been called the great turnaround, is a company that we all know, and it's Apple Computer. Take a look at Apple, and you can really understand why Apple has been such a successful stock when you take a look at the profit margins. And if you were to take a look at the revenue and the product cycle, holy cow, that's where we get Apple being one of the biggest companies. I mean, we thought it was a big company at 1 trillion was an amazing number. Now it's at 2 trillion, right? 1.2% profit margins. This is when they were almost out of business back in, and then Steve Jobs, of course, was removed, and then he came back to the company. 3.3. Now you almost tripled the margins right there. 9%, almost tripled them again. All right, then 10, 14. Take a look all the way from the start of the move back in 2003 at just almost negligible profit margins to fast forward to 2011. 23.9% profit margins. That is a vastly different picture. And that is what created this amazing stock. That's what, or part of the picture that created that incredible move in the stock. So getting a combination of these is very powerful. And it's what I call the code 3 or a code 33 stock. And I have what I call the code 3 matrix. And very simple. I just look at a stock, and if it has 1 quarter of accelerating revenue, and then that would be pretty good, right? If it had maybe 2 quarters of accelerating revenue with accelerating earnings, that's even better. If it had 3 quarters of accelerating revenue, earnings, and margins, that's the best scenario. So you just code them. It would be a code 11, a code 21, a 31, and so forth, based on what combination you have there. So if you have 1 quarter of EPS, right? You have 1/4 of EPS, and it would be a code 11, right? If you have 2/4, it would be a code 21. If you have 2/4 of revenue and earnings, it would be a code 22. So the bottom line is, though, you're looking for the best scenario is to get all three. And this is something that you can program in MarketSmith. MarketSmith has, with earnings, you can check a little box and it'll look for 3/4 of accelerating earnings. You go to the sales, it has a little box, you click it, it'll look for 3/4 of accelerating sales, and the same thing with margins. If you click all three, it'll give you the code 33 stocks. And there's not going to be a lot of them. This is a very elite group. But this is a very powerful scenario. And it's just something that you need to understand on how the market works in that maturation cycle. So when you look at the chart and you look at the earnings, you can get an idea as to where you are in that maturation cycle, where you're in that stage 2 uptrend, and are the earnings accelerating, and you'll really start to be able to have it all into perspective and understand where you reside within the maturation cycle of the stock's life.
Yeah, and when you add these things into your stock selection, when you're looking at the acceleration in earnings, it just forces you to get more and more selective. Take those thousands of stocks and narrow them down to those 5 or 10 stocks that are the best stocks in the market that have these characteristics.
Right. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to narrow it down to the best merchandise, and then time those purchases, and then manage the risk reward relationship, because you're not going to be right all the time. You're going to do all this analysis, and you'll still get it wrong half the time. You'll still have stocks that will stop you out. But this is all about increasing the probabilities. It's about learning how to spot aces and kings. If you were playing poker, aces and kings are the 2 best hands you can have, and those are hands where you're shoving your chips into the center, right? So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for situations to shove your chips in and to make big bets on, and you're not going to be right all the time, but you're putting the probabilities in your corner. So again, I'm not going to go through this, but here's a few things for you to look for, some fundamentals to watch, earnings, sales, and margins. And we're going to take a break, and we're going to get into the price action and charting, and we're going to get into very deep into that when we come back. We'll be starting with a picture is worth $1 million, and that's starting with looking at the price action and charting. So we'll take a break now, and we'll be back.